With all of the tension and the animosity between the Yankees and the Rays this season, last night after the Rays got off to a 4-0 lead in the first inning, honestly, I only had one thought.
Let them fight.
So, I'm pretty confident that last night was my least favorite game of the year. Not only was it, in my opinion, a must-win if you want to make a run at the division, but, it got out of hand early. Jordan Montgomery was absolutely rocked in the first inning. And look, this does not change my opinion about Jordan Montgomery at all. Everybody is entitled to a bad start now and then, especially a young pitcher. He hasn't made a ton of career starts. He's technically a veteran, but, he missed an entire season. He made like 1 appearance or 2 appearances last year, and then this year he's just finally getting back into rhythm. So he's going to have a bad start, a clunker, every once in a while. Every pitcher does. He entered that start with the lowest exit velocity allowed of any starting pitcher in the American League. That doesn't happen by accident. You have to be pretty good. You have to have pretty good stuff. But along with stuff, you have to have pretty good location. And last night, Jordan Montgomery was missing location completely. From the very first hitter, you could tell that he was missing by a large margin. And, there's a lot of reasons that could happen. Sometimes it's just a feel. Sometimes the ball just doesn't feel right coming out of your hand, and it's just, there's nothing you can do about it. And sometimes it's a slight mechanical tweak that, you can make between starts. And I'm sure they'll look at the film and he'll come back ready next time. But, that was just a very anticlimactic game. It reminded me of the ALCS Game 7 in 2004 when the Yankees lost to the Red Sox after, going up 3-0. You get to Game 7, you're expecting like this really good, really fun, intense Game 7, and then the Red Sox go up 6-0. Johnny Damon hits that grand slam. Javier Vasquez and Kevin Brown on the mound. That was a rough one. That was a painful night. And then you had to sit through it the whole night. Ended up being 10-2, I believe. But it's funny, they brought Pedro in, who had been basically dominated by the Yankees that year. And they brought him in to kind of shut up the Yankees and make a statement. And the Yankees started to come back. Bernie Williams hit one off the right field wall, and they had to yank him real quick. Nobody remembers that. Anyway, last night was terrible. But hopefully the Yankees can turn it around today against the Mets. They play at 4 p.m. Jay Happ is on the mound. Jay Happ has actually pitched pretty good his last couple times out. Pitched pretty well, I should say, to be grammatically correct. But, his first couple times out, he was not good. He was missing his spots, much like Jordan Montgomery last night. He was, giving up a lot of hits. He had a lot of walks. He had that one game where he walked 6 guys. But the last couple times out have been pretty representative of the type of pitcher that Jay Happ can be. Very comfortable 0-4s for a lot of the hitters on the opposing teams. He cuts that ball in. He throws that fading changeup away. And if he's got his command working, he's got a high spin rate 4-seam fastball. He can come in and bust you in and tie you up, or he can throw that fading changeup away. He's got a little bit of a breaking ball, so he can mix it up. He's a veteran. He knows how to pitch. So as long as he's healthy and pitching well, I have no problem handing the ball to Jay Happ in a big game. And the Yankees, even though they are 4 games out, this is a big game because you have got to get started winning, and you've got to win against the teams that you should win against. 20-15 is not a great record for this team. This is a better team than that, and they've got to start showing it. Sometimes guys decline precipitously, very, very fast. And one example of this would be Chris Davis. If you've been watching the Yankees for a while, Chris Davis used to kill the Yankees. Back in 2013, in his 27-year-old season, age 27 season, I should say, he batted .286 with 53 home runs and 138 RBIs, 370 total bases. The next year, he batted .196 with 26 home runs, less than half, 72 RBIs. But look at the decline in average, 90 points. The next year, he goes up a little bit, .262, 47 home runs, getting it back. But since then, straight downward. 221, 215, 168, 179, 122. Home runs decline every year, and this year he is yet to go deep at age 34. I feel like Gary Sanchez is having the same type of decline. At least it appears that way to me. Gary Sanchez, when he first came up, was one of the best young hitters in baseball. 20 home runs in a fraction of a season. But since then, he's really only had one really good year, 2017. He was, he hit 30-plus home runs. He was big in the postseason. Last year, he hits 30-plus home runs. He led all catchers in home runs. But, again, the average was down. He was not good defensively. He was injured a couple of times. He's really struggled to stay consistent on the field and be on the field consistently. Those are two areas that have really plagued Gary Sanchez's career, and I fear that he's on the same kind of path as somebody like a Chris Davis, who just plummets off of that cliff. Once the confidence begins to go, it can really be hard to get it back. We saw that Chris Davis, he had that one really bad year after he hit 53 home runs, and then he bounced back with 47. But then the confidence started to go downwards as his skill began to decline. I fear that Gary Sanchez, who is in his age 27 season and really should be having a career year, but instead he's batting .130 with 6 home runs and 14 RBIs. Yikes. He really should be having his best year. He's in his prime. He's only got to stay healthy for 60 games. Come on. But it appears, by all indications, that, he's fallen off a cliff. 41 strikeouts in 92 at-bats. That is awful. That's awful. He's almost striking out half the time. And I'll tell you what, the Yankees need to get some production out of left field. Mike Tauchman and Brett Gardner are doing nothing. Mike Tauchman was a guy who I expected to have a big year. The metrics suggested that he was for real. Turns out that so far he's been pretty much a fluke. He got off to a good start, but the league seems to have figured him out. And he is just not playing well right now, either offensively or defensively. And I mentioned earlier the metrics on Gary Sanchez. The metrics say he's good. I disagree. Last year, the metrics said that Mike Tauchman was off the charts defensively. This year, they say he's worth negative 0.2 defensive wins. So, these wild inconsistencies in the defensive metrics are why I don't trust them. Any formula that changes that much from year to year seems suspect to me. I mean, I guess guys can fluctuate year to year, but to fluctuate by that much, to go from one of the supposedly best outfielders in the game to a negative value in 1 year, I don't know. I don't know if I trust these. I don't know if I trust these defensive metrics yet. The offensive metrics I pretty much trust at this point. OPS plus, they seem to be, a pretty good gauge of how good of a hitter a guy is. And offensive WAR seems to correlate with those numbers pretty well. And Mike Tauchman's been worth minus 0.2 offensive WAR also. So Tauchman needs to step up or sit down. Brett Gardner looks like he is done. He looks washed up. And I hate saying it because I love Brett Gardner. He's a fan. I mean, he's a favorite of mine as a fan. But as somebody who is an intense watcher of baseball, I can recognize that he doesn't seem to have much left in terms of bat speed. When a guy's been around that long, the body wears down, and your bat just isn't as quick as it used to be when you were younger. His power has gone up because he's gotten stronger. That's probably why you're seeing him hit more opposite field home runs, because he's late but stronger. Brett Gardner, I think he's pretty much washed up. I was an advocate of the Yankees getting some kind of outfield help, but it seems like Stanton could be back soon. He's going to be at DH though. Do they really want to play him in the outfield? I don't think so. Not when he can't stay healthy as a DH. And it looks like Judge is pretty much out for most of the season. The Yankees have got to figure out something with the outfield. Left field is a hole right now. Deivi Garcia is on the mound tomorrow. That's what I'm looking forward to most about this weekend, seeing how he does his second time out. I was so encouraged by his first start. If you didn't have a chance to see it, I put up a video with every pitch of his first outing, and you can see that, you know, he was commanding the ball really well. He was moving it in and out. He was changing speeds. Now, part of that was he was working with Erik Kratz. Erik Kratz is an excellent veteran catcher, and they kept him on the roster. So it would not surprise me if you see Erik Kratz behind the plate with Deivi Garcia tomorrow, just because they worked so well together the first time, and he is still on the roster. You're going to play him. Why not play him with somebody who you know he works well with? So Deivi Garcia tomorrow. Tune in for a recap of that. Also, Clarke Schmidt could be right around the corner. The Yankees don't have that many games left, so expect him to get a shot at some point, especially with Paxton out and all these doubleheaders and all these games in a row. The Yankees are going to want to slip somebody in there at some point. The only problem with Clarke Schmidt is that he requires a 40-man roster move, so somebody will have to go. Perhaps after this start with Deivi, if the Yankees decide they want to go with two catchers from here on out, perhaps they can DFA Kratz, which it's tough to do because how do you DFA a guy who's done so well for you? But that could be a way they go. You know, it's a cutthroat business. Perhaps they DFA Kratz and then they call up Clarke Schmidt to fill that roster spot. All right, that's it for me. Tune in after the game. Reminder, it begins at 4 p.m., so it will be a bit earlier. I should have a recap, 30 to 40 minutes after the game is over. Hopefully with the happy win music and not the sad loss music. We'll see how it goes. Since it is happening a bit earlier, I'll probably extend my comments on the game a little bit. These late games where they end at like 11 o'clock, it's tough for me to get on there and really do too much commentary afterwards. I like to save that for the pregame show. But just kind of give you my initial reactions after the game. But, all right, everybody enjoy it. Let's go Yanks. Let's go J-Hap. Hey, guys, help support the podcast by buying swag from my store. Link is in the description.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube suggest this channel to other Yankees fans.